Your gray tank's reading 2/3 full, but you don't know what that means? Well, let's find out in this episode of Travels with Delaney. Welcome back, everyone. Before we get this week's episode started, if you haven't subscribed, we'd sure appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button and also the little bell beside of it so you get notified each and every time we put up a new video. For real-time updates, you can follow us over on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can check out our brand new website, travelswithdelaney.com. All right, on to this week's episode. So we've owned a travel trailer for over 13 years now, and every one of the trailers that we've owned has had some kind of monitoring panel that will tell us exactly where our freshwater, gray water, and black water tanks are. But unfortunately, each one of those tells me things like empty, 1/3 full, 2/3 full, and full. And honestly, I don't even know what that means. So I decided what we do this week is a real non-scientific experiment to try to find out exactly what does it mean when it says 1/3 full, 2/3 full, and when exactly does it go over to that full monitor. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to use the gray tank here in our NuCamp Tab 400. And this is going to be one of the simplest experiments I've ever done, but I think it'll be effective enough for what we're trying to find out. Now, I can tell you that we have an 18-gallon gray tank on board. So I'm going to use a 5-gallon pail, and I'm going to put 5 gallons roughly down the kitchen sink, and then we're going to check it each time. Now, we'll go ahead and put in the full 5 gallons to start with. We'll take a reading, we'll see where we're at, and then we'll slowly add the next 5 gallons, because I'm going to guess on an 18-gallon tank, 1/3 full should be somewhere around 6 gallons. So, are you ready to do this? Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've already filled my bucket up with 5 gallons. We're going to try to see if we can do this without making too big of a mess in here. So here we go, and I've already tested. You can see, I'm going to go ahead and put that up there. The sensor's at empty. I made sure it was empty before we started, and here we go. Let's start slowly adding. I guess we're about halfway down. I'll slow up so the sink can catch up. All right, there we go. We have 5 gallons of water now going into the gray tank. I'm going to go ahead and let that drain all the way down so that I know that it's down in the actual gray tank. And then we're going to go ahead and check the sensor for our actual gray tank. Now remember, it was reading empty here at the start, and I'm going to go ahead, and it is reading 1/3 full already with only 5 gallons. And remember, it's an 18-gallon gray tank. So we're going to have to do this over because we need to find exactly where it switches over to 1/3. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and drain the gray tank, and then we're going to do this again, and we're going to go gallon by gallon, at least till we find out where it trips over. So stay tuned, and I'll be back as soon as I get the gray tank emptied. All right, let's try this one more time. We're back to empty. We're going to put it in 1 gallon at a time. Now, it's going to take a little longer, but we need to figure out exactly where this thing trips to go from empty to 1/3 full. All right, there's 1 gallon. We're going to let that drain on down, but I am going to go ahead and take a reading. Now, my thought is it's going to show that it's still empty, but I may be wrong. I was right. It is still empty. Let me go get another gallon of water, and we'll try it again. All right, gallon number 2. Thank goodness this is only an 18-gallon tank. Otherwise, we'd be spending all day doing this. There we go. Second gallon, just waiting for it to get all the way down into the gray tank. And we're still empty. Let's go get gallon 3. And gallon number 3. Okay, it's going down. Just going to wait till I kind of hear that stop. All right, we're getting close because it was flickering just a little bit, but I'm still showing empty. Let's go get gallon number 4. So now I think there's some factors I should point out that could play into the results. One is how level is the trailer, because if it's not perfectly level, then obviously just a little off level could skew the results. For those of you that don't know, these sensors are pretty basic. Think of it as almost like a screw into your tanks, and when the water hits a certain level, that kind of sets off the sensor. So depending on where it was installed at the manufacturer, that could play into it too. And yes, 4 gallons sent us from being empty on the monitor to being 1/3 full. So 4 gallons equals roughly 1/3 of the tank full. Now, this is an 18-gallon tank, so really 1/3 would be 6 gallons. So it's going off early in this case. Let's put a couple more gallons in and see what happens. Now, some basic math, and if you watch my last video on propane, you know I enjoy doing these math calculations, but some basic math says if I put in 8 gallons total, it should send it to 2/3, but then sometimes these things aren't always the way you think they are. So let's keep adding. All right, I'm back. But what we're going to do this time to save on time is I put 3 gallons in our big 5-gallon bucket because we know 3 didn't trip it last time. So let's go ahead. So this is going to take us from 4 gallons. In fact, I think I'm only going to do about 2 there. Let's let that go down. So that's roughly 2 more. That's going to put us at about 6 gallons, which is where I thought it would go to 1/3. Yep, and it's still reading 1/3. So let's go ahead and put this last gallon from the 3 that I put into the green bucket. Now that will put us at 7 gallons total. We had the original 4 that took us to 1/3, and then I just added 3 more. There it goes. And we're still at 1/3. So I think logic may hold that it's going to take 8 gallons. We'll let that go down. So that's going to make a total of 8. So we had our original 4 1-gallons. That took us to 1/3 full. We had the 3 that I put in plus this one gives us 4 more. It's a total of 8. And yes, we are reading 2/3 full. Double check it. Yes. Oh, interesting. Now it's went back to 1/3. So we're right at that tipping point, I have a feeling, at roughly 8 gallons. So we know 4 gallons was reading 2/3. 8 gallons is kind of toggling. So let's go get more water. I think if we add just a little bit more, we're definitely into the 2/3 category. So the nice thing is, if it is roughly 8 on an 18-gallon, that's giving us a little leeway, which means it's probably going to show full when we get to that point with about a gallon to go, which is always nice to get a little bit of a heads up. So, all right, back to the water spigot. All right, so I'm not going to add this whole 3 gallons this time because I want to see how close we are to tripping. So we're just going to add a little bit here and see if we actually go to 2/3. Yep. We're now officially 2/3. So I knew we were close because it was kind of bouncing between the two. So again, we're going to assume right around 8 gallons puts us at the 2/3 mark. So let's go ahead and add this full 3 gallons and see when now it starts reading full. So that tells me roughly once it goes to 2/3, I'm going to have about 10 gallons of space left. It's an 18-gallon gray tank. So now we have 11 gallons with that 3 in our 18-gallon gray tank. And I'm just waiting for it to go all the way down. There we go. Still reading 2/3. My guess is when I add this 4th one, we're going to be real close. And in fact, I'm going to hold my button this time. Let's see here. It's interesting. It actually drops down to 1/3, but it must have something to do with the water running down. Definitely getting closer to full though, based upon the sound. Interesting. It's now reading 1/3. Now you want to talk about screwing up a video. But this is interesting. So it's bouncing, which again just tells me how inaccurate these sensors are. So we now have 4, 8, 12 gallons in the gray water tank. It was reading 2/3. Now when I push it, it reads 2/3, but it drops down to 1/3. Now that's kind of scary because at this point, 12 out of 18 really is 2/3, and yet it's wanting to read. So you can imagine the issue it would have if you're out boondocking is you think you still have 1/3 left and you're at 2/3. So, all right, we'll just keep adding water. All right, I'm back. Now while I was filling that up, I got thinking. Maybe the issue was we're putting the water down so fast, maybe we got a false reading of 2/3 because of the water going over the sensor, but then as it dripped off and dried. But now that I'm back, we're reading. Nope, there it goes again. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It starts off at 2/3, it drops down. So let's add about a gallon of this 3 gallons. And I'm almost positive it's going to go to 2/3, but and now we've actually jumped. Yeah, we're at 2/3 and it's blinking full. So it's real close. So I'm going to guess I put in another gallon. So we were at 12, so roughly 13 gallons. Somehow took us from 1/3 to maybe full. Let's go ahead and put in these other 2 gallons. So I'm almost positive it's going to start reading full because now we put in 3 more gallons. That's 15 out of the 18. And again, I would assume the sensor is not set at the very highest point. They want to alert you that it's full before you actually fill it up and have water coming up. Now, typically, at least in this trailer, the first place we start to see water bubbling up if we are full, and yeah, it has happened, it's the shower pan. So most of the time, one of us will be taking a shower, and then we'll realize we're standing in water. It's not draining. Okay, and it is reading full. So we were at 12. At about 13, it was blinking. I probably should have just done 1 there, but probably somewhere around 14 or 15 gallons, it's going to read full. So that tells me that leaves me, we'll go 14. Now let's go 15. That would leave me 3 more gallons that we could put in before it truly is full with 18 gallons of water. So Again, this isn't real scientific, but it gives me a better idea that, number one, these things are not 100% accurate. And depending on where they locate those, that could have an impact on it. If it doesn't get drilled, I'm not sure how they decide where they get drilled. I'm assuming there's a template, but you know how that goes. And then if your trailer's not perfectly level, but at least now I have a better sense that for this particular trailer with an 18-gallon tank, if I get to 1/3, if I was reading empty and I get to 1/3, I know there's somewhere between 4 and 8 gallons. And then when I go from that, then I know that I've got another 4 gallons before I go to 2/3. And then once we hit full, I only may have about a 3, maybe 4 gallon window before it's literally full. So I don't know if you found this useful or not. If nothing else, it was fun, and I got some exercise walking back and forth to the spigot. So if you have questions, comments, if you've ever ran a test like this, let me know what results you had. And until next time, everybody, we'll see ya on down the road. Good night.